everybody. And today I've asked Carolyn to come in and speak with you all for a few minutes. I only met her one time. She met us, I think, through the Lymph Summit. By the way, this is my shadow 1 and 2 here in Pennsylvania because we have no sun today. And as much as I've tried to change my lighting, the clouds are not cooperating. But that being said, I did want to take a few minutes and just share Carolyn's story. She just came in from Ohio. Isn't that where you live?
Yeah, 6-hour drive.
Yeah, 6-hour drive. She brought her daughter. You found us on the Lymph Summit, I believe. Is that true?
I did.
And you work in the health space. You're an allied health care practitioner, I would consider you. Would you agree?
Well, I'm actually a coach for kids and teens and adults and parents. So that's what I do, amongst other things. I got about 4 or 5 different balls in the air right now.
And you were explain to everybody how you were feeling because you found the Lymph Summit. Why? What was causing you to seek at that point?
I was feeling an extraordinary amount of fatigue, and it came on suddenly. I can pinpoint it to the very month this year, in March. It just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I did not know what was going on. My supplements weren't working anymore. My daily rituals and routine not working. I could not get enough sleep. I was extremely exhausted for no apparent reason. I can't attribute it to any kind of physical activity that made me really tired. And so that's when I started looking, and I thought perhaps it had something to do with the flow in my body, and it wasn't flowing. So what is this about this lymphatic stuff that I need to know? And that's why I came across you and the whole webinar.
And so we had a conversation on the phone, and you were like, okay, I'm very interested, not just in FLOWpresso, but in Sound of Soul.
Absolutely.
Because of the work you do, our conversation kind of naturally gravitated over to Sound of Soul. That for me, the combination of FLOWpresso and Sound of Soul together is like the ultimate gift that we get to give people, where they get to really relax and then kind of open their heart. And you were, and correct me where I'm wrong, you were kind of at a pinnacle point of like looking for something for your own health journey, but also looking for something in your professional world to help expand that a little bit with what you were doing in that world. Not that you're not doing amazing work, but always looking for what can be next, what can help more people. So you took your teenage daughter in a car and said, let's go for a 6-hour drive to Pennsylvania.
We did. So glad we did it.
Did you come for 2 days or it was just one day, right?
Just the first day, no, actually 2. I visited your office twice, but it was over, a day and a half, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Because the second day you just did FLOWpresso again.
Right.
Right. Okay. So fatigue was going on because we're now in June. So this was probably May when you came in. So it was a couple months of severe fatigue. And how was the 6-hour drive to the office? I'm wondering.
It was wonderful.
Okay,
having 6 hours of time alone with your daughter to talk about amazing things and dream and, just having a great time. We had some great tunes on the radio. So it didn't feel like 6 hours. It was actually wonderful to spend that time with her. She's 16 and she's got big ideas. So
that's awesome. And obviously a supportive mom. How was the drive for you physically? Was it exhausting to drive 6 hours? I'm curious. I don't know the answer to this.
Physically, it was exhausting. If I were to do it by myself, I would be in worse shape. But because I had the distraction of my daughter in the car, it didn't seem so bad. And I had a problem with my foot. So every time I got out of the car, it was really, really painful. And so I was in pain driving. I'm not going to lie. I was.
And tell everybody your experience, if you would, from arriving until you got onto the Sound of Soul, like a little bit about your FLOWpresso experience and everything. Just you go. You're a beautiful wordsmith. I have confidence.
Well, okay. So I'm going to go a little deep here. So when we were driving and I saw the location of your building, it reminded me of my childhood living in Pasadena, California. The trees, the weather, everything just somehow reminded me of something familiar that I had experienced as a child. And I actually mentioned that to my daughter. I said, I feel quite comfortable and at home here because when I look around, it feels like I'm in Pasadena. Isn't that weird? We're in Pennsylvania, not
Yeah,
Pasadena, California. I don't get it, but I'm going to go with that. And I'm feeling good. And I hobbled up your stairs. And we came in your office, and I love the fact that we were able to take off our shoes and just be comfortable, like you were going into someone's house, and that no one was overly worried because I hadn't got my mask on quite yet, and it was okay. And I just felt really comfortable. And your staff is just amazing. And just a few minutes at the desk, and next thing you know, I'm hooked up on the FLOWpresso, and I'm gone. So that whole experience of transitioning from the car and into your office space and on the FLOWpresso, it was just like kind of surreal because of how I felt about the surroundings. Just reminded me of something very, very familiar to me. I'm sure that not everyone is going to feel that way, but for me personally, that was my first impression. I
and
was in the right place.
and so you got wrapped up in what I call the hug machine. It
Yeah,
hugs you, loves you, and then you can leave, although you didn't leave because then you poured into my room. And I think that was when, did we meet before you got on FlowPresso? I think for just a minute.
yeah.
And then we met to do Sound of Soul. And so we try to keep somebody when they're in FlowPresso mode, which is the flow state she was speaking of. We try to keep them in that flow state and pour them directly into my room or Sarah's room, who's ever doing the Sound of Soul, and put her like back to bed. We create like a situation where the massage table's got pillows and blankets and it's warm and it's inviting and it's like, just get right here into bed. We'll put these little heart rate monitors on you, put your eye mask right over you again, the Serenity oil, and go right back to where you just were. Now we're going to use this other piece of equipment which converts your heart rate variability into light and music. So tell them about your experience, if you wouldn't mind, in regards to Sound of Soul.
Yeah. So being in this flow state, that's very very accurate. You are somewhere else. And the combination, so I want to just say one thing about the table, the FlowPresso therapy. As you're being hugged, you have warmth surrounding you, and then you have this amazing audio. And the audio is full of affirmations, and you are just feeling really, really calm, really centered, and really good. Like, I feel good right now. I don't want it to stop,
Yes.
but it does. And luckily, yes, Kelly poured me into the next room and was hooked up, and I had already started crying before we started the whole process. And I just kind of mentioned to her, it's like, I have no idea why I'm getting emotional about this, but I just have a feeling that it's going to be a good experience. And I guess these are anticipatory tears. I had no
Joy.
other.
Tears of joy.
Yes, 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 yes. And it was correct. I mean, it was beautiful. I didn't know, I didn't do any research about it because I wanted to come into it like a child. Like, I don't know what's happening. Let's just go with the realness of it and just see what happens. I like doing things by the scientific method. Just let's see what happens. And so laying on the table just very comfortably and hearing what I heard, it just took me to another place, several places actually. I think I
Yes.
mentioned that to you.
Yeah. So for those that don't know Sound of Soul, what it converts your heart rate variability, as I mentioned, into music. She's the musician. I am the selector of the equipment in which basically her body is converted into the sound. So we start with harps, and then my intuition essentially just selects the next grouping of instruments, and it's often like landscape sounds, maybe with a humpback whale or a piccolo or a harp or a chime or something like that. And so there's typically in an hour session anywhere from 5 to 10 selections that run anywhere from about 5 to 8 minutes. And it kind of, as the person that's experienced it, it kind of feels like a movie or an experience that you're being taken through. And so when I took the headphones, and in all honesty, if the time had allotted us that day and I didn't think it would take away from her space that she was in, I asked her to do the testimonial that day, because what she said was so impactful and so beautiful. And that being said, as the practitioner I am, I also didn't want to take her out of the space by making her put a video in front of her face to repeat it. So it probably won't have the same feeling it did that day. But if you could just give them a sense of what that journey was like for you and where you went, because it was so great.
Well, it was filled with wonder. Um, I was surprised that my mind was calm enough to just let me relax and enjoy the experience without overthinking. I was grateful for that. And I hadn't practiced that at all, but my mind just decided, okay, you're safe. It's calm. You're calm. Let's see what happens. And I was really open. My heart was open and my mind was open. And I've actually traveled. The music, of course, allows you to picture things. I'm a very visual person, so I pictured myself somewhere far away. um, and experiencing what it would be like if I were there and imagining that. Um, and it happened twice, two separate things. And the second one was very interesting because I felt like I was conversing with someone else, just, being in that particular space and just having some sort of a connection. So I know it's going to sound really woo-woo, but, but it's amazing that when you're completely relaxed, how your mind does what it needs to heal you in some way. And that's exactly how I felt, is that, yeah, I was taken away and I was allowed to experience something almost out of body, for sure. And it was very healing to me. And when I listen to my music, I'm instantly taken there again.
And what she means by that is that we select out of the 8 selections we did from the metrics, because I'm looking at the parasympathetic, sympathetic metrics and the heart opening, the variability increasing. I take the best 3 or 4, and then we email those audio files. So she gets to continue, as she mentioned, to be right back in that space. And that continues to allow the healing to occur and the entrainment of this new place, this new vibe, this new elevated, upgraded version of ourselves that we get to experience with Sound the Soul and with FLOWpresso, because I would postulate the reason you were in such a relaxed state was because of the FLOWpresso, allowing your body to know that you were safe.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and it was your mindset coming in too. Your mindset that this was going to be a great experience, that you enjoyed the trip with your daughter all the way here, regardless of the pain, that you were ready for a shift, that you were open to it, that you had built some level of trust with me over the phone. We hugged initially when we met, and that connection and that openness allowed you to get the healing, because the same person that came here driving not in a good mood, not ready for that open, might not have that same experience. And it's all about your readiness. And Carolyn, you really had that readiness, and I applaud you for making the commitment to drive that way and to do what you did, in the next day to do this, the second FLOWpresso, to reinforce that entrainment. And how have you been feeling since you left here 6 weeks ago? And you were going to say something else. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, no. I felt like almost a load lifted off. Like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be. I have tools now. If I ever need the FLOWpresso, I'm just going to jump in the car and just do it again. I always will have the Sound of Soul with me. I can access it at any time when I need that extra feeling of validation, because it really does validate you when you listen to this. You're listening to yourself. And it's almost like looking in the mirror but with your ears, you know.
Oh.
That's how I feel. It's like, oh, okay, I got you.
That was good.
So for me, I'm constantly pouring out of my vessel for other people. So the Sound of Soul actually pours it back in without too much effort. So you know, I can attribute feeling really good to having a great mental state and emotional state because of it. That way I can do even more in my work. You know, I don't feel like I'm pouring out of an empty vessel. And before I came, I felt like I was pouring out of an empty vessel. And so now I have tools. I have something to go to help me. I'm sorry. I get a little emotional when I talk about this kind of stuff.
I think, wait, no, that's authentic, and I appreciate that. I get emotional all the time on these talking to people, because when it strikes a chord with me, it just does. And I feel that for somebody who's so exhausted to make a decision to go, okay, I'm going to drive 6 hours one direction, stay in a hotel with my daughter, and have 3 therapies in the course of 24 hours, basically, 2 of the same therapy, 1 of Sound of Soul, and to turn around and have a new lease on life, if you will, and drive those other 6 hours. How did you feel driving home versus driving here? I mean, I'm sure it was just as enjoyable with your daughter. Were you in as much pain? Were you as exhausted?
I had, well, physically, so here's the part that's kind of interesting. Physically, I still had that nagging exhaustion, and I did have pain, but mentally and emotionally, I was in a different place. And so that made me feel like I could overcome whatever I'm feeling, and everything is going to be okay, like I had mentioned before. And of course, the trip back home was wonderful again, because, you know, my daughter and I had wonderful time together. And okay, so I didn't tell you this, but after I left your office, I asked my daughter, can you just look up to see how far Jersey Shores are? We've never been there. And I'm feeling like pretty good. So let's, see how far it is. Well, it was only an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And so we made an extra 2-hour trip farther away. So we added 4 hours, no more, maybe 5 hours
Yeah,
to the trip.
Ocean.
Yes, and we sat there and it's just enjoyed the ocean for as long as we could. And we did the calculations, and we were going to be home at midnight, but that was okay. I felt well enough, to be able to do that.
That's
and so yeah, so we added that, so it wasn't just 6 hours.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for your story. I want people to understand there's always hope, no matter where you are, no matter, even if you're in a place of lack of decision. I know that we talked a little bit about that earlier, that you felt much like in a lack of decision prior to coming out. And now it was so much easier to make decisions for your life, because again, you felt a little bit more in that flow state and that aligned state of like, hey, I got this, as you said. And that's what we just want people to understand, whether it's FLOWpresso, Sound of Soul, or both. You have the power inside you to heal. And this lovely, lovely woman, Carolyn, is here to explain that to you with her own personal story of triumph, of champion, and of persistence, and of her own body's healing. Because we didn't do much. We put her in FLOWpresso twice for 40 minutes and did a sound of soul for an hour, but her body healed and shifted. And from our heart to yours, we pray that you continue all that amazing healing and all that continued growth and exponential growth in your own personal development, and those that you also continue to help with their own personal development, whether it's the parents or the teenagers, which I figure it's probably a little bit about.
It is. You can't do one without the other.
As a parent, I fully say I know it's half of my problem.
Oh, well, I appreciate everything that you've done for me. And you say you didn't do much, but yes, you did. You did a lot. And I really appreciate that. And having your staff and just the whole feeling in your office, it was just a healing spirit there. So, and I felt it. I'm very sensitive to those kind of things. So I felt that. And I will have no problem coming back to do another FLOWpresso.
I look forward to hugging you when I see you.
I would too. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other parting words you want to leave everybody?
I would say if anyone is on a healing journey, or maybe of any sort, it could be physical, it could be emotional, mental, whatever your journey is, or you feel pulled to do something for yourself, I would highly recommend advocating for yourself, recognizing that you do have a need, and take care of it. Look into things, get yourself educated, do what's right for you. There isn't one method or only one way of healing. There are millions of ways to heal. And if you're looking for something to help you overcome something, or feel like me, that I can heal myself, it's very empowering. So I would suggest that anyone who's feeling the urge to seek that kind of support for your health, to do the FLOWpresso, try it out, do the sound of soul. It's amazing. Both of those things are amazing. And I don't care how far I have to drive, in order to do it. And you may have to sacrifice time or effort, whatever it takes. If it works for you. I would say do it. Life is way too short for feeling terrible, for feeling tired. I don't think we're here to experience that. So do whatever you can to move yourself forward in a positive way, that you can feel at your best, so you can experience life at your best. How much better would the world be if everyone took care of themselves first? How much more can we offer other people? How many more people can we help if you're feeling good? So I truly believe that.
I'm speechless, y'all. I'm speechless. Thank you so much. That was beautiful, and I couldn't agree more. This woman's brilliant. Follow her advice. Follow your own inner wisdom, and you got this healing. You can do this. Your body can do this. Have a great day.
Thank you.